Okay, I just seen Lisa. You just joined in. I seen that just now.
You seen it?
I was seeing Lisa join in just now.
So you on
Join the page.
Wait,
Join the
can I
page.
join?
Oh, join the page.
You have to say join.
Oh, here it goes. Here it goes.
Man, I can't keep track of it.
Here it is. It's on live now.
I know, because I just redid it.
Cool.
You were just trusting
I'm very sorry.
Trust your
in the
ass.
God.
Trust, yeah.
Trust it. Did that
All
was
right,
on the
Brandon,
mic.
let's go back. You get ready. Get your mind ready. You ready?
All right, yep, there we go.
You ready? Yeah, it's something he did over there. That's why.
That's why I said trust me.
Share
Alright, y'all back on.
the Thursday.
Y'all back on.
It's Fired Up Thursday, baby, and we're back. I'm sure if y'all missed that big action, oh my God, yes, I killed him in that R&B. Okay. Hey, it was tight. Yo, was it check your mic? Damn, bro. Now?
Nah, you just made them out.
All right, man. All right, well, we got to keep rolling. We got to keep it rolling. I'll work on that while we talk. But for now, as you guys know, we have a special guest in the house. Two special guests in the house. And I hope we get these names right because we kind of been fumbling over the names. But Lisa Valtiera. Tiara. I was going to say Tiara. Okay. We had Lisa Valtiera and Shanna Doran. Shanna Doran. I got it. You happy you didn't do that? I should have practiced it. Yeah. Anywho. So we have. And I just wanted to give you guys a short little thing on who we have in here. Shannon is a licensed clinical social worker and doctor of psychology in UCLA and OCD intensive. Is that right?
That's where.
Intensive Treatment Center.
I
So
also
you
work at
work
UCLA.
there.
Yes,
Okay.
the OCD program. But
Right.
I also have a private practice and a small private practice where I treat not just OCD but other things.
Right. Okay. And we have Lisa, leading cross-cultural marketing and advocacy experts in what's that? Pharmaceutical and healthcare fields. Right. So,
I'm not a doctor.
yeah, we had to clear with almost that she's not a doctor. Man.
So I'm not a doctor. So Shannon and I have known each other for years, and she's always trying to explain to me about anxiety, and I don't get it.
Okay.
So I am not the doctor, and Dr. Shannon is the doctor. So she's always explaining to me things about anxiety, and I never seem to understand it very well.
Yes. Try very much. She's the expert in not having anxiety.
Okay.
I am the expert in treating anxiety. And maybe I might actually have anxiety.
Okay.
Well managed. That's how I got into the field.
All right, so today's whole title and description of today's episode is all anxiety. So can we hear from your mouth directly what causes anxiety?
Well, anxiety. So generally speaking, anxiety is normal. Everyone experiences anxiety. Some people might interpret this experience of going to Disneyland is exciting. Those same symptoms where you get excited to go to Disneyland can also be interpreted as anxiety. So anxiety is this awareness of an uncertain situation, and people will oftentimes have fearful thoughts like what's going to happen. It's their fight or flight kind of acting up, and it's all fear-based.
So here's how I understand it. So I have anxious moments. Like this week, I've been anxious because of the election.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be anxious next week. And for me, I'm very aware of, this is why my stomach is in knots and I'm not sleeping well because of this situation. So my anxious moments are very situationally tied, and I can put a name to it. I can talk myself out of it. I can go, this is why I'm anxious, but I still have to go to work and I still have to look at slides and call people and just do what I gotta do. So I don't let it stop me, and it certainly doesn't affect my happiness or my overall productivity.
Okay, nice. I feel like anxiety is like an overall thing that like every human being on the planet goes through. Maybe even all species might go through it to some degree. So is anxiety an emotion?
So it's interesting that you say that. It gets so confusing. So we have symptoms. So if we look at symptoms, the rapid heartbeat, the feeling nauseous, the sweating, tunnel vision that people might get, it's that response that historically, way back in the day, would save us in danger. So it's a sense of an arousal to protect yourself. Lisa is able to link those symptoms, whatever her symptoms are of anxiety, to a direct cause. People don't even have to have a direct cause to experience these symptoms. We could just have anxiety. But people have symptoms and they don't necessarily attribute them to anxiety. And it's just a normal response that we have to certain situations, and everybody gets it. It's when it leans over into an anxiety disorder where it starts impacting someone's social life, their school life, or career.
Right.
Wow, my mic is
So we all get it.
That's what was going to be my question. It's kind of like, do everyone at some point have anxiety? I mean, and how is it that they are able to control it better than others?
So some of it is perception of situations, but when we're looking at a disorder, which we're not necessarily talking about a disorder overall, the disorder, it just kind of happens. Like it's this excessive experience with anxiety as it relates to social situations, or as it relates with OCD to various different types of themes. Or people have fears of earthquakes. People can have a phobia of certain things.
But is it fair to say that it's like a constant worry? Like a worry that's like overwhelming.
Like it's something that's kind of
could be.
That could be, yes, that could be seen as it. But I get so sometimes in my job, I'm slicing and dicing and picking apart what someone is worried about. So what is it that they're concerned about, which would be their fear, and that fear, along with these sensations, are anxiety. But you can have fear without symptoms of anxiety. I tell Lisa, like, I don't love earthquakes. I'm afraid of earthquakes, but I'm not particularly anxious about it.
Yeah.
And no, nobody loves them, but not everybody fears them.
Right. So
say for instance, for example, constantly bothers you throughout the week or the days or whatever because you live here, and it's kind of like you just never know when it's going to get perfect, and you just constantly that's what I was asking. So like if you stay here, or you just
in
kind of
extreme situations, no, I don't. It does not bother me. It's not a primary fear of mine. When we have them, I get that fight or flight response, which people get, right? But I don't sit there and ponder when the next earthquake will come.
Okay.
So I'm not locked onto that as a theme. People can get locked onto that, so they're always anticipating when it's going to happen and talking to friends about it. Do you think it's earthquake weather? Do you think we're going to have an earthquake now? And those are the people, when they continually talk about what it is that they're afraid of, well, they're revving up their anxiety. You're talking about the very thing you don't want to talk about. Let's talk about misery. And by talking about the misery, you're just going to feel more miserable.
Right. Well, one of the things I kind of want to take it little by little. First of all, let's start with the kids. Let's start with the things that's going on right now in the schools and being able to only been able to do work from home and all that kind of stuff. What is it as far as the anxiety? I mean, what is it that they can do for the anxiety that that occurs to them or whatever? Being so pressured with classes online and stuff like that.
So
we spoke about this.
We were on a program a few weeks ago talking directly to kids and their families about anxiety, and the first step is actually recognizing that you're having these emotions that are connected with physical sensations. So for little kids, they're never going to say, "Mom, I'm having anxiety."
that's not
Right.
even in their vocabulary yet, but they may be acting out. So
Biting.
it's really up to, and biting, pinching,
Punching.
starting fights with siblings,
Throwing things.
maybe not being kind to the dog or something. I mean,
Tummy
Now,
aches.
how you
temper
distinguish that from
tantrums.
just being a bad kid and and you know what I'm saying, the kid just having,
and
you know,
so is it normal behavior for this kid to behave that way?
right.
So if that kid has been that crazy or nutty behavior that's making the parent
Crazy,
probably
I was gonna
anxious,
say.
Right.
and that's that kid's normal baseline behavior, then it might not be anxiety, it could be something else.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's come about because now they're at home all the time and trying to figure out Zoom, and maybe they don't even have a computer that they
Right.
can work on, or it's a large household. I mean, who wouldn't be? I'm getting anxious thinking about that.
Yeah.
So, being able to, as a parent, to recognize that and then give kids the space. Don't just say, don't do that, but ask them why. And how are you feeling? And the kid may not say, again, I'm feeling anxious, but they may say, I'm sad, or I'm upset, or I'm frustrated because I can't get this technology to work, whatever it is.
Or they
Right.
might
Give
not
them the
know.
and
They
give
just
them the
might not know why
space.
they are behaving in that way. They might feel badly after if they're acting out because it's so incongruent to how what their true nature is.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does one alleviate anxiety?
You don't really have to alleviate
Uh-huh.
anxiety. So
Just go with it.
Right.
You got to feel your feels.
Okay.
yes, it's something we experience. Now, I look to gradations. I use a 0 to 10 scale. So some people might have a little bit of anxiety, and some people might max out at a 10 out of 10, which would feel like a panic attack, an anxiety attack. It feels horrible. As a function of time, just the passage of time, those symptoms will come down, maybe not to a 0, but to like a 4 or 5, and people could kind of continue to function, basically. So and some people will go to a 0. She would go to a 0. I'm
0,
happy at
okay.
a 2 to 3,
All right.
3.5, 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lisa, how do we achieve a 0?
So
Genetics.
I have. I know, she always wants to kick me. She's like, oh. So for me, I allow myself to feel every feeling.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that I stop people in my life and have to tell them about it. But if I'm upset, I allow myself to feel upset. If I'm angry, I allow myself to curse and to be. Can I curse on this show?
Yeah, hell yeah, you
Okay,
can.
good. If I'm fucking angry, I'm gonna say I'm fucking angry.
Right.
You know, and fuck you, you fucking fuck.
That's the I go all in.
Right.
She doesn't hurt anyone. She's not anything, unless I have to have a one-to-one or come to Jesus meeting with somebody.
Right.
But I also, even in that situation, I don't behave in an aggressive, angry because I take the time to figure out, why am I angry? Why am I upset? And I ask myself, am I behaving like a 3-year-old? Am I having a temper tantrum? Am I hungry, tired, overworked, whatever? And if all of that's in play,
And then it just goes away. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm being an ass.
Okay.
Fine.
She's weird that way.
Well-
very strange, very strange.
What do you guys say about, say like, some people with anxiety, they say there are certain phrases that they can say to themselves to help them calm them down or whatever. I mean, one that's for
Little
example
mantras.
could be
Yeah.
Wusa could be one. The other phrase is just I can do it. Just basically.
I mean, yeah, hell yeah.
For little kids, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, true.
But it's just one of those. I mean, do you guys know of those type of phrases or whatever where one can say, I can do it, or just telling themselves something early in the mornings or whatever. I know some people actually put notes on their mirrors. You know what I mean? And it's all positive notes
have
or whatever.
notes.
That kind of keeps them calm and get them through the day because that's the first thing on their mind.
For someone like Lisa, if she's sad and she feels to cry and she cries and then she's done crying, and if she's angry, she feels angry, and happy, she feels happy, those things could work. But people with more of a propensity to experience higher levels of anxiety are going to struggle with that.
Okay.
And then that mantra, it doesn't do much as their anxiety is spiking. It's important to acknowledge the symptoms, but when our symptoms are really, really high, we're not really able to tap into our logic and reason. We have to wait till it kind of, we settle down with the symptoms of anxiety. I kind of liken it to if you're wasted drunk, you're not
Right.
making your best decisions, so you
Right.
got to sober up. And as you sober up, you could realize, okay, that This is over, and life goes on. But if you try too hard to push away these symptoms, like, no, don't think about pain. I'm not going to think about that I'm suffering and I got to get rid of this. It's just going to make it worse. The only thing you're thinking about is pain. So Lisa is the ideal healthy coper person.
Right.
And that, and part of that I
foreign to
think
me.
comes
Well-
from my
go ahead.
family upbringing. So 6 kids in the family, 9 people in the household, because grandma was there, and it was barely controlled pandemonium all the time. But within that type of parents, they kind of like, nobody bleeding from an artery? House is still on, not on fire.
Bones not
We're
sticking
good.
out,
Right.
You're fine.
So we had a lot of time to learn how to just self-manage. And even if we got in arguments with our siblings, there was no hitting and there was no name calling allowed. But we were allowed to argue because our parents' perspective was that life is hard and
Right.
you're not going to get along with everybody all the time. And so you need to learn how to argue.
That's nice. Okay.
So any situation for me now that's confrontation, even though I don't like confrontation,
Right.
but I know, things with work or whatever, you have to have hard conversations, they're going to be had. And even if I'm anxious about it, I know, okay, it'll be over as soon as I have that conversation.
Yep. Okay.
So
Okay.
it's temporary. The experience of anxiety or that comes along with worry or situations that you don't want to have to face, it's temporary. And so even the thought, I'm going to throw a bottle and hit you with it,
Right.
it doesn't even bother me that I could produce the thought, but people will get that thought, they're not asking to have that thought, and they think, oh my God, why did I have that thought? That must mean I'm dangerous, and now that's very scary. But all thoughts are neutral, and if we get anxiety, we tend to use those symptoms to validate our thoughts. Then we're getting into kind of some sticky stuff here.
Yeah.
That's a whole other show.
That's a whole
But I wanted to
ahead.
get back to I wanted to get back to this idea of feeling our feelings.
Yeah. Okay.
And for kids especially, like if a kid is crying, a lot of times people just pull out a tissue and say, "Oh, stop crying," because they really can't handle anybody crying. But that's to me like a crappy thing to do, because no one asks, "Why are you crying? What is causing your upset?" And it's not even that you have to solve it. Just let somebody have their feelings. Just like the other day I was talking with somebody, and it was Tuesday night. We all know what was happening on Tuesday night, and I was truly anxious.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody on the phone. They kept saying, "Well, just breathe. It'll be okay." I'm like, "Stop. I know how to breathe. I got
Right,
breathing down.
Yeah.
That's handled. I just need to express myself, and I'll be fine, and I'll be done in like 30 more seconds. But stop trying to manage my friggin' feelings."
Hell yeah. Did you ever have that time to like express yourself and get it off? Because you can
Yes.
do it right now.
No,
if you want.
I did. I did. I with several people,
Okay.
and
Okay.
yeah,
She
so we
had
commiserated.
Yeah.
I want a piece of that action.
All right, so since we've been on, I've been able to check out some of the comments that we have.
Let's see.
Jamaica, what's up? Renee, what's up? Marcus, what's up?
Question.
Nick. So Nick, I was getting there.
Okay, so
See, God talking again. That's God.
continue, my son.
Continue. No. So Nick was asking, how do you handle anxiety in the workplace? Sometimes he wanted to just kick some ass, and but she did. She said LOL, but I don't think she's laughing. It flows into your
Yes,
work job or whatever, and no telling whatever someone else is saying or the pressure that you have on you at work or whatever. Yeah, how do you handle that to kind of
So, from my perspective, when you have anxiety, what most people don't know is, and this is important, you can't always control your thoughts. You can't even always control how you feel. What you do about it, your actions, are something that you can control, even certain thoughts. So there are thoughts, obviously, you can control.
Right.
I'm controlling what comes out of my mouth, which is a rarity at times. Usually everything comes out of my
Come
mouth.
on, let's hear it.
So our behavior and how we have to respond to stuff has to be, I guess, kosher, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, you have to behave at work,
But you
otherwise you
can't
could lose your
negate
job.
the experience, the anger, the frustration. And
But yeah, and good for him, right? I mean, I was a little jealous, I got to say. But it's finding the allies within work where you can express your frustration. And also journaling is a great way to at least acknowledge your own work situation that's causing anxiety.
It's causing it, yeah.
Because that way you can start, it's amazing when you start writing, and actually there's a lot of science behind writing old school with an actual pen and paper
Or feather.
is,
I'll take a
or feather, yeah, quill, whatever works. But the act of doing that is not only do you get to release a lot of your whatever's going on in your head, but it also just helps with creativity and with alleviating those symptoms.
Right.
So and that's free. You don't have to pay anybody. You don't have to pay for a class. It's just, get some paper and start writing. And that's really actually very therapeutic. And it doesn't have to be long, like 5 minutes is all you need.
That's the logical way.
Oh.
Let's say,
But
okay.
Jamaica said she loved the journal, doing the journal thing.
well,
Yes.
good.
But
Glad
don't
I can help.
negate the feeling of misery. Allow for it. It will pass through if given enough time. But don't negate yourself or try to say, rationalize anything. Allow for it. If something bugs you, it bugs you. And then separately in a calm state to go journal and just have a place to just spit it all out is really important.
Yeah.
So, how can you really distinguish having anxiety and just being angry or being upset? I mean, because it's kind of like you can go to work upset about something every day, and it don't really have to be anxiety. It can be
Right.
just the fact you're just mad about something or
Yeah,
whatever.
of course.
And people will label it as anxiety. Do you think it's kind of thrown around too much to make it seem like it's a symptom? I mean, it's an illness or something or whatever, or is there a way to really distinguish that, especially from a workplace to home?
Well, I don't like to pathologize a lot, so I don't think everyone needs to run around having some psychiatric illness. I think that there could be the tendency to overdiagnose. But we're not supposed to feel negative emotions. Lisa had mentioned the tissue, or if someone comes into my office, I hope I'm kind enough to say the tissues are over there before I start the session.
Okay.
But I'm not going to offer it to them because I'm not trying to break that. If someone's angry, I'm not trying to break that. In fact, I don't even let people talk when they're crying because I want them to have that moment. The same when they come in and experience anxiety, because that's how they're going to learn it's temporary. Anxiety, anger stands alone. People get angry, especially now. There's so much stress going on, and people who might not normally be angry. Like, what do I do with this emotion?
Absolutely.
And acknowledge it, allow for it. It's just how you respond to others where it could be kind of tricky.
Yeah. Like
Right.
I take boxing lessons.
Oh, what?
Very therapeutic.
That's a
It
good
really
thing,
is.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and
Actually,
in
that's
fact,
probably the best
I
idea.
need to take
My
karate
lesson-
again, but
my
I
lesson
can't
was
lift my leg
yesterday,
up.
and I almost didn't go because I had a ton of work to do, and I thought, nope, I gotta go.
It's
And
about punching something.
something about punching something that's not going to hurt anybody. In my office, I often joked, and I probably should have gotten one of those bozos that that bounces back.
Right.
Because there were so many times I'm like, oh, if I could just punch the, and
Right.
it would have felt amazing. But it's again allowing ourselves to feel that feeling, whatever it is. And like if you're laughing, if you have a laughing fit, no one says, oh, stop that. We have to control that.
Right.
But if you're angry and you have a reason to be angry, you got to feel it and feel it all the way, because it will go away. Suddenly, you're not angry anymore. I'm over it.
All right, how many walls in your house, like, as you grew up?
Not enough.
Walls, man. But I want to kind of ask, like, meditation versus therapy. Like, what are the pros and cons of each?
Meditation is always good, or people like yoga. That's not a talking activity, so I don't tend to gravitate towards yoga. But actually, it's very healthy. I'm a swimmer and I run, and it's a way for me to clear my head and not think about the day. Boxing, like that, actually is the best recipe for the country right
is
now.
that therapy or is that meditation?
It's all
A little
meditation.
bit of
I'm
both.
not even getting to therapy because
Okay.
I don't think everyone needs it. There are people
Yeah.
coming to see me and they go over their situation. And I'm like, they're so darn healthy. They just need some education that you could feel anxious. You could actually feel angry and you don't have to have an identified cause.
Right.
Just like you could feel content or happy and you don't have to have a reason. There's logical reasons as to why people are angry right now, but you don't even have to have a reason. We experience these things, but we learn to attach it to some kind of situation. Like when we're young, and our mom says, "Well, why are you sad? Is it because of this? Is it because of this or
Right.
that?"
You just
And,
are.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I guess so. And then we learn to start pairing these experiences to situations when you could just be.
I mean, and our feelings are we can experience all of them within an hour.
Or at
You
the
know,
same time.
and at the same time. So I used to talk about I'm a happy person. I always have been.
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that I don't have moments of sadness. You know, when my mom died, I was a mess. When my grandmother died, I was a mess. People can, let's say you're getting married, happy day, but you could be sad that your grandparents aren't there. So you can be happy and sad all at the same time.
Right.
You know, or the dry cleaner messed up on a shirt, but yet you're going out to a nice dinner. Again, you can be annoyed and happy all at the same time. So it's just, for me, it's a matter of, do I understand what I'm experiencing? If I have a name for it, it makes it so much easier, and I don't get anxious about it. I just go, oh, I'm pissed off. I'm annoyed. That jerk cut me off. Whatever. I'm like, okay, and then I'm over it. Because on to the next emotion.
Anger is a scary thing for a lot of people because for so many people, anger is so fused with some kind of action. So if people grow up in a house where there was abuse or things were broken, it becomes anger. It's like, well, what am I going to do? Well, what am I supposed to do with the anger? I have to blow up and let it out and yell at someone. And it's like, no.
Right.
And I don't need to break a dish anymore because that was so long ago. So long ago.
But you know what? You guys are really giving some good information here, and actually our response is coming real good as in meditation and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah,
so
exercise.
people that you guys that are watching, if you guys continue, because some of the comments that you can make on here, it can also be helping others. So continue putting comments. We'll answer them as soon as possible, as quick as possible, and we're going to get more, a little deeper because of the things that's going on today, man. I mean, it sometimes calls me. I don't know. They might have to diagnose me when we come back and see if I got anxiety because, when we come back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
I don't think.
Even know Mike.
I keep forgetting. I don't know why.
Man,
That's the one part.
on the board
That's the
killing
one
them.
part. It's too much work and concentration going on over here. I know, right? Well, I'll at least make sure you do your shit right. Anyway, we feel like that you have these certain symptoms, and you want to know. Hit us up. Let us know if you got those symptoms. We could tell you if you guys. Well, I don't know if I can't tell you that. But we got a couple of experts in the house or whatever that can tell you. So we were talking about earlier. We talked about meditation, and you wanted to.
I wanted to go back to that a little bit
Okay.
because I think that meditation has like this mystical aura about it. And a lot of people say, well, I can't do meditation because I can't sit that still, or I don't understand it, or my mind never stops. It's not the point to stop your mind. The mind is a mishmash of constant thought. It's if you're not thinking about something, anything, whether you are aware of it or not, then you're dead. So to have an empty mind is really not the thing. The thing about meditation is to find some quiet space to, again, feel your feelings. So, and it doesn't have to take long. If you're new to it, you can start with 5 minutes and just sit there and let your thoughts go. Just let them come in and out, and don't try to. I think the trickiest part, and Shayna, you can correct me, but I think the trickiest part is people want to ascribe meaning to their thoughts.
Okay.
Thoughts are just thoughts. It's like feathers flying in the wind.
For people like me, they get a little stuck, those little feathers, and whatever, at least. Going back to the meditation, I'm definitely not an expert in that. I have to have active, I guess, meditation. So when I'm swimming and racing, I'm not thinking much. I am happy not to think, be aware of thoughts. But what I think with thoughts are a tricky thing, and people do attach a lot of meaning to thoughts. We have unwanted thoughts that again, they don't have to have meaning, at least in the OCD realm. And not everyone has to have OCD if they have these thoughts. Common thoughts that people get are, what if I kill myself? What if I kill someone? What if I pass on germs and cause harm? What if I do this, or what if I do that? And these what ifs are not something they're choosing to have. They present themselves. And so those thoughts, when someone gets a little freaked out by their thoughts, she's laughing.
I'm having a thought.
She had a
sometimes
thought.
when I'm driving, I think, oh, what if I went over the yellow line? Now, I'm not going to do that, but it's
That's
just like,
normal.
You just
you
wonder.
know, it's just a stupid thought that I
Right.
can easily
have that.
dismiss, but it doesn't cause me anxiety because I know I'm never going to do that intentionally. That's for sure.
I can tell you what I do though. You
just go
know
over the yellow line.
you know on the road, you know where there's like when you're on the highway and they get that. On there.
Yeah, the
I
bumps.
love that sound. And
It's very hypnotic, right?
yeah, that's I do it
Don't
just on
drive
purpose, just to be like, I'll be like,
It's
ooh, I
just
just want to hear that.
Oh,
It's
that
actually
over
it's
the
actually
Yeah,
bump.
so
I thought
say
you
like,
meant the
no,
motor
it's
of
going over the
car.
line. It's like on the shoulder kind of part.
That's actually
like,
meant to wake people up from when
exactly.
they're
It's
falling
meant to
like
wake.
it?
It is. Yeah. Because I used to drive.
But you find it
I used to
soothing.
drive when I was I used to drive like a
Yeah.
lot when I was younger, whatever. And of course, if you go over too far, you tired, they'll wake you up a little bit. You know what I mean?
that's exactly
But
what
you
it's
like
I just got to the point of doing it for fun.
I
do.
That's
I don't know,
the motor,
like-
the hump of the
Like you know,
motor.
sometimes you don't like. Sometimes I'll be driving and don't think that I'm in the lanes, like right in the lanes or whatever, and I just test myself. I know I'm weird.
You're the
weird.
one that everyone else is honking at.
Yeah. I'm the one y'all gonna be
Yeah.
honking at. I'll be like, what's wrong? Or either have the police called on me. Like somebody's a little drunk driving.
It would be nice to hear from someone if they're having these scary thoughts or what they find scary that are just kind of thoughts everyone has. I don't know if anyone's willing to admit to some of their unwanted thoughts. But I hear them all. That might be a private.
Man, I
No,
have,
unwanted and fearful thoughts. How about that?
Ooh.
Not pleasurable thoughts. The ones that freak you out.
Because those may be unsummoned, but when they happen, like, oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have-
oh, I like that one.
Well, you got a thought. What?
I hate my spontaneity in certain decisions. It's like I'll be chilling. I'm like, I can just do this, and it wouldn't matter, but it would cause so much consequences in the long run. Like I have this ability. I remember my abilities in certain moments, and like I don't act on them, but I always think like, but I could.
Catch
Like, and it
yourself.
would be
Could.
easy.
Right.
Like, I'll be playing like video games or something super light and simple that has no meaning.
Right.
At any given time, I could throw this controller through this TV easy. Like my body is fully capable of this. I can do it at the drop of the hat. It would cause consequences as for my wallet's sake and things
Yes.
like that. So.
So your
I
rational brain takes over.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like the irrational thoughts I have. It's just like, why do you even think that? And
Who knows?
I don't even make the separation with rational or irrational. They're just thoughts, and I don't like the inherent judgment. Like, oh, I know I'm irrational. It's almost like I know it's a lame thought and I'm stupid, but they're your thoughts. And the best thing that we have with those unwanted thoughts or the awareness of these unwanteds is we have control to either follow through with whatever the thought is. Our own self-control is what we have. If I have a thought I'm going to kill someone in traffic, which does not bother me, I still don't choose to kill. There's a lot of consequences.
Speaking of choosing, well, I don't know if I should segue into that, but
Can I get my traffic admission off? Like, can I admit to some
please
traffic
do.
shit? You know, like when you're like driving on the freeway and there's like the walking overpass. Like whenever there's somebody up there, I'm like, like
when you
know,
speed up,
yeah, you know, because
so you scared they're gonna jump off or
like a
something?
walking overpass.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
you'll see like a person walking. It's just like
So
look at
do you
my
envision-
car is lining right up with like the
yes.
guy walking up there, like that would have been it.
Oh,
Or sometimes it's like
interesting.
another car, like a big rig or something.
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, look at that. Like that could have just happened. But
Yeah.
on two
Got
sides
it.
of the
Yeah.
freeway. Like,
Like when
Yeah.
I'm driving by LAX and I see a plane coming down and it looks like you're about to crash into it because of the way the runway is, and even though we're going down.
that's
like,
exactly
oh,
it.
what
Yeah,
could
it's just like
happen?
it's
You
like
know,
why did I
be
think
healthy.
that?
Sorry.
But
Okay,
people
okay.
who have your thoughts, the one where what if they jump, or what if I'm responsible for running them over? Those are kind of a little bit scarier. Not that a plane running over you isn't scary, but we're hearing a lot more of doom and gloom in society. So
Okay, well, let's say what's going on with us today, and I want to kind of get into that because I think a lot of people are going through the frustration and everything with the election going on. Not only just because of the pandemic, but just because of the way that the votes are going. Not to say, you know, whoever you vote for is fine, but the frustration of the fight of someone maybe either potentially cheating, you know, all this kind of stuff that hasn't never happened to us in history of the whole, you know, elections. You know, never have we had anyone feel like, oh, you know, it's going to cheat again, or another cheat, or this vote ain't being counted, that ain't being counted. So we're, you know, it's been a big issue in these last couple of years, or last few years, 4 years ago and now. Is my mic on?
Yeah, you sound great.
Oh, I feel funny. I didn't have my headphones up. This man be over here moving this. I don't know. Anyway, so my question is this, because we are all looking at it. I've seen it, and sometimes the frustration. I've had times where I can't really sleep. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, because we don't know what's going to happen the next day.
Right.
You know, it's always something, and it's someone that's controlling this whole situation as opposed to us, you know, having our so-called votes to control it. You know what I mean? So what would you guys say to someone that's out there that's going through this whole, I mean, and it's a lot of us. It's a lot of people right now.
We're going through a pandemic, people having lost their jobs, unable to find new jobs because their businesses are closing left and right.
Right.
Everyone's stuck at home. We're all zoomed out. You know, we haven't been able to see our friends or our normal circles to even commiserate with each other because we're all stuck at home for the most part. And an election that is more contentious than we've seen in a very, very, very long time. So it's absolutely normal. I'm surprised we're not seeing more outbursts, frankly.
Yeah.
suicides, I'm hearing a lot more about suicides.
Yeah, a lot more
going on.
suicides, a lot more depression being diagnosed.
And domestic violence.
Domestic violence.
Yes.
Huge increase.
Yeah, child abuse, all those things are going up, which is heartbreaking.
Right.
Beyond heartbreaking. But how do we deal with it?
Right, right. And my question is, I mean, although, you know, like I said, I'm not a professional or whatever, but, I mean, and some of the ideas we did give earlier was some good, you know, ideals or whatever to do in these type of situations and stuff like that. But this is like something that's going on right now. We're in the mix of it. What is it? Can we get advice, you know, from our doctor here?
So, and this advice could easily come from Lisa as well. We can only control so much, so control what you can. I am not a big fan when people misuse social media and that becomes their lifeline because there's
Right.
a lot of misinformation. And at least for the patients that I work with, I shut them down on it because they're not using it for the greater good. They're not. Their mental health deteriorates. But I think controlling what you can, and you can go for a walk, or you can watch
the TV
comedy,
off.
or
Yeah.
watch comedy.
Yeah,
I'm not
like,
a big fan of the news.
I
What is
watched-
the news going to do? I had panic attacks left and right.
I did not watch the news. I watched allowed myself 20 minutes just to catch up. Okay, we still don't know. Fine. And I honestly switched to a comedy show that's like on USD or USA TV or whatever that has like the whole
Comedy.
darn show back to back to back, because I don't want to be stressed out any more than I already am about this. And it's not that I'm unaware. It's not that I'm putting my head in the sand. I'm very well aware of who's doing what and what the propositions have done, in California. But it's my way of exerting control and of not allowing myself to be inundated, because the truth is I still have work to do. I still have the people in my life who I love and who love me back. I still have to eat. I still have to go for my walk. I still got to go to my boxing lesson. And all of that is things that I can control and that actually make me feel good.
Okay.
So I mean, and I kind of like what you said. Basically, don't dive yourself too much into what's happening to the extent. Yeah, take a break or whatever from it, because I do have friends that has been watching it probably still now. You know what I mean?
Make you crazy.
And it's just making them crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I seen such and such a day, and then they one channel saying that they won, one channel said he did. You know what I'm saying? And it's so right. So the best advice would be, one is just to kind of like calm down, shut it down, do something else, occupy your time doing something else or whatever,
If you
and
have
then
a
maybe
dog,
come
take
back.
it for an extra walk.
Right. Yeah, the dog would love that.
I think what's so unfortunate with the lockdown, there's many things, but we're on Zoom, so people are just, it's becoming more impersonal, and we so desperately need human connection. We need to interact with people and get reality checks. And when we lose that, I just saw a story somewhere of an older man dying of a broken heart. Like, he died from loneliness, and it's just
Loneliness
we're
kills.
rotting inside, and so because we can't do anything.
Right.
And then
That just made me sad.
anger is what comes
really
up for a lot of people, and that anger then gets spewed out, and we really have to, I know this sounds schlocky and corny, and I'm not like that typically, but we do have to come from a place of love. We have to value each other. Our
Right.
lives are valuable. Your life, my life, all
And
of our
that-
lives are valuable, and we need to reconnect with that.
Okay, I have a comment real quick. Kim wanted to know. She said she'd like to know you guys' thoughts on influx of homelessness.
I have thoughts, and you have thoughts. It's very difficult. It's so difficult because now we observe wherever we go. We see tents, and we see a lot of people with mental illness. It's such a difficult thing. So it's that the homeless can be easy targets for our frustration and anger. Look, they're ruining everything, and they're. If you go to some parks, I'm seeing a big influx, more of people with mental illness and who are going off on people, and they could be easy targets. Something needs to be done. Why, with as much money that we pay in the state, there's, I think, hotels that have shut down, and wouldn't it be healthier to give that as an option than people lying in the street? It really pains me. And there are people who want to be on the streets.
Right.
I work as a clinical social worker sometimes in a hospital, and we are responsible for helping people leave the hospital safely.
Right.
And there aren't enough homeless shelters, and people know that, but people kind of want to go where they want to go. And we can't just lock people up, which is a good thing, but some people need that structured containment, but not in a lockup, like a psychiatric facility to lock you up. So we don't have adequate resources to really help people, or they could get patchwork help. Like, we could get you a hotel. Well, no, we can't do that even. We could maybe refer you to a shelter.
Right.
But that's great. That's really, it's not just
It's
to
a
make
Band-Aid.
It's meant to make, I guess, the people know that we're trying to make a safe discharge, but that's not adequate. So there's so much needs to be done, and it's a
Well,
tough
maybe at the
situation.
end, can we might have can maybe give some information to where people can go, to get help.
211.
Exactly. That is the number 211. In case you guys are listening out there, you can dial 211, and it can give you all the information in your area that people that's helping you in whatever situation it is. I mean, that's also with your homeless. If you're homeless. Business wise, your rent, your utilities, all that good stuff. 211 can give you all those answers or whatever. So that's a good.
There's not
I
a
think
quick turnover to get help, unfortunately,
Uh-huh.
and that always pains me because people, when they think of social workers, oh, what resources are you going to give us? A piece of paper with stuff on it. And
Yeah.
it's horrible. It's a horrible experience as
Yeah.
someone who works in the field. And nothing happens quickly.
Okay.
Right.
But if someone is suffering greatly and they're not coping well at all, and they do have thoughts where they just can't cope and they do want to hurt themselves, they need to go to an ER. They need to get some kind of help.
Okay. How do you guys feel about drug-induced anxiety, like medication, and like prescribing somebody something that'll help with anxiety?
So for temporary, I'm not a big fan of the benzodiazepines, but they have a time and a place.
That word was crazy.
Yeah, what? Say it again. I know, right? Remember, I can.
Benzodiazepine.
Okay.
Hold on. I just didn't hear. Everybody was laughing. Quit.
Okay,
Say it.
Ativan, Clonopine, Xanax, those quick
Xanax, that's the one. We know that one.
There's a lot of data out there that, and we're talking now about anxiety disorders.
Yeah.
So most people, in fact, 60% of people with a disorder do not get help because of many reasons. They may not realize that they need help. They may not have access to help. Therapists may not be culturally aware of their situation. So I know for Latinos especially, we do not go see therapists. We're like, I'm not crazy, I'm not going. So that's a cultural thing. And there aren't enough therapists who understand that cultural perspective. Same with blacks.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say the same.
and then there's the time factor. Like not everybody works a corporate job where you have a salary. You can say, hey, I got to take 2 hours off to go to my appointment. No, most people who are working, they don't work, they don't get paid.
Exactly.
And then therapists only work from 9 to 5. Well,
Right.
that's when I'm
When
working. So where am I going
exactly.
to get there? So there are a lot of reasons why people don't get help. Of the 40% who do actually get help, about half go on medication. The medication only works about half of that time to relieve their symptoms, and only to about 20 to 40%. So it can be really helpful for some people, but it's not the cure-all.
So I want to elaborate on that, because for short-term anxiety, doctors will prescribe Xanax or Clonopine or Ativan, but those drugs can be addictive. People need more and more of it to get the same effect. So it's usually used short acting, and there is a withdrawal process for people who stay on it in the long term. So if you're on it, you don't just go off it. That's something you work with a doctor. So in the short term, that's a good option. For disorders long term, it's better for us to teach people how to feel the anxiety and not do anything about it. But for disorders, a lot of people hear about Prozac and Paxil. These drugs, there's a lot of drugs that do a lot of good. They're very effective for depression, much more so than they are for an anxiety disorder. You don't get complete coverage of anxiety if you have an anxiety disorder, and that's okay, but people sometimes will expect that, and that's not what's going to happen. But if their symptoms of anxiety are dialed back just enough, then they can learn how to cope with their anxiety through behavioral intervention. I am not necessarily, to whomever's above, I am not always the biggest fan of therapy anyhow. Why? Because people will go see well-meaning therapists and they'll teach the person how to breathe. If you are having a panic attack or your anxiety is like 8, 9, 10, maybe 7, and you say to someone, breathe, like they haven't thought of that.
Right.
Then you want to punch out.
Yeah.
And that's what boxing lessons
Right. There you go.
Lower anxiety on the whole
Yeah.
that's where the meditation really helps, and the journaling and some form of exercise or something to get out of your head and into your life. We don't want to stay too much on our head. Not a lot of good
heads are a mess.
happens.
I
If
agree.
left to our own devices, the normal human mind will go right to the gutter.
Yeah.
People with anxiety get there a lot faster.
Okay.
Oh.
Meaning, I wonder, for me, I'll be on the beach somewhere and do I have enough sunscreen on? I wonder if I'll get melanoma. I wonder what my last breath is going to be like. And then I think to myself, okay, you're not really anxious. Isn't there something better you could be thinking
Mine
about?
would be if that wave get any bigger.
So today,
I'm out of
to hear
here.
the elevator story.
No, yes, you can.
Okay,
don't-
so
Elevators are dangerous and
She doesn't
horrible.
like
It's
them.
not true.
Yeah.
it's one floor. The stairwell was locked, so we
Right.
couldn't walk
Come
up
through
one
there,
flight
right.
of stairs, which is not a problem for us to do, but we
That's
couldn't
the
access the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, no, I'm going to die in there. I'm like, well, then you won't care anymore if you're dead. Get in the
Yeah, we're
Go
elevator.
on, go on.
I was being a little manipulative. I know what I'm supposed to do. I would have the patients get in the elevator, and I'm going with them.
And I'm like, yeah, whatever. When you're dead, who cares? So
It's
get
one
in.
floor though.
But it
It's
just
a-
didn't look like the safe kind of
It is.
elevator.
It's
That's why I
small
used to
because it's
be
so
able to
small.
walk close
Like somebody's up there pulling.
I'll take the stairs.
What they gonna hold us? We got, Nick had a question.
Actually, I was gonna say that. Go for it.
Nick had a question because she said, "What ways would you? What is it? What are ways that you can shut down your brain when trying to go to sleep?"
Oh man, that's a great question.
That's
Yeah,
why
because
I'm afraid to
that's
run
the stuff that's
amok.
kind of going on. Like even
Yeah.
now with me or whatever. Like I was saying earlier, whatever. Sometimes you kind of get into it and you worry so much. You know, it's
Yeah.
hard to shut down and go to
So-
sleep. So what?
Sometimes when my brain is running amok, I will do a 7-6-4 breath. So I breathe into the count of 7.
Mm-hmm.
I hold it for 4, or hold it for 6, and then I breathe out for 4. And I can never even get to 10 of those types of breaths because then I'm asleep.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Meditation.
Yeah, that
That's like
doesn't
a,
work for me.
that's interesting.
But it doesn't take long because I'll just, again, breathe in to the count of 7, hold it for 6, and then let it go for 4. And a few of those, and suddenly your whole autonomic system has quieted down.
That is good to just practice
That's-
anyhow
yeah.
as a form of meditation.
Hold on, wait a minute. Can I
However,
write that down?
I mean,
I-
as a
I'm
meditative
up here
thing,
listening. I
like
should
you're
have wrote that down.
practicing on it. But if it is hard to shut your mind down.
Yeah,
It's just
We all have
spits
monkey
out
minds.
stuff. We get like
Just
30 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and I'm thinking, well, according to Google, on you get 30 to 80,000 thoughts. We're not aware of most of these thoughts, or they're congruent to what we think on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
But as soon as you hit the pillow, boom, every horror of the day or the could-haves happen. It is hard to shut it down, and you want to practice breathing, but if you're not tired, it's best not to just stay in bed. And what I learned from me, I cannot be on the computer, on my cell phone. They're very stimulating. And I know when I close my eyes,
Yeah, it's called good sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
So-
not so good with the hygiene of
So
sleep.
the other thing is stop watching any electronic things.
Right.
because
I think
blue
someone else
light
just
really
commented
does affect,
that, yes.
affect your brain.
Turn off all
The
electronics.
other thing, if my brain, usually I'm worried about things I need to do the next day, I will write them down. And that way I'm like, okay, I'm not going to forget because I wrote it down, and now I can deal with it tomorrow. And there's this old-fashioned thing called worry dolls.
Damn it,
Worry dolls?
Is that the
Stress
damn
dolls?
dolls?
The ones you like squeeze?
No, just little. They're little. It's
Oh, I
in
have
Latin
them in my
culture, but they're
office.
these little teeny tiny dolls, and they come in a little box, and you can take one out for each of your worry.
On
and
Amazon.
and you can tell it, this is my worry. Like, I'm worried about the meeting tomorrow, and put it on the dresser. And if you have more than one worry, you tell each one little doll your worry, and then you leave it alone.
Okay.
And that's another way of getting it out of your head.
What I'm laughing at is I treat severe OCD. I'll have this worry doll for fear of killing someone tomorrow, and this one for fear that the knives are dull, and this one. So
For the mop that I'm gonna have to use to clean up the blood.
and I do have those worry dolls. Actually, I give them to patients.
Worry dolls are great.
But that is a tough thing to shut down. So there might be some other stuff going down. I don't know what the content of the thoughts are, but sleep is so important. So I'm not giving. I don't think we're giving the greatest advice. There are some techniques you can
Well,
do.
some
but
people so far can tell you now that they like the breathing, the countdown that you was
helps.
just saying. Yeah, and I'll have to try it because I try anything. Sometimes if I do turn the TV off, but it has to be completely quiet and that type
Yeah.
of thing or whatever. But still, I don't end up doing that until 3:00 in the morning.
everyone's sleep-wake cycle is off.
Yeah,
Everyone that comes
yeah,
to
my
our
sleep
clinic,
cycle is
I went to
way
sleep at
crazy.
5. Like what? What?
Yeah,
No.
But I want to give one more tip for falling asleep. Every night I read, even if it's for just 5 minutes. It's amazing how much you can read in 5 minutes, but it's a book, so it's not an electronic device.
Calming.
And it's very calming. It's quiet. And before I know it, I'm like, wait, I just read that paragraph. Okay, I better turn off
Yeah.
the light. And that helps because again, it's focusing my brain on something I read fiction, so it has nothing to do with real life. And that helps, again, me get out of my spiral.
And you hit that on the nose, because Renee just said, I read the Bible in silence before sleeping. That's yeah.
a good idea.
I mean, I don't want to go. I don't want to sleep on God though. But no, I'm just kidding.
Time to get into my realm.
I
You're
read
starting
murder
my
mysteries. I read murder mysteries.
I know, which I don't know how you.
Wait, how?
I mean, I would be like up all night, like, oh, what the heck happened? Really, like 6 o'clock in the morning.
But I fall asleep to death, destruction, and
See,
dismemberment.
oh my goodness.
Go figure.
All right, we gonna come right back. We're gonna finish up and also get you guys information as to how they can how they can get help and all that good stuff for anxiety. And I'll check and see if we got any more comments when we come back and everything, and we'll go from there, guys. This is nice.
Sounds good.
All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2.
So you can see the difference.
It's Friday Thursday, baby. We're back and we're talking about anxiety, y'all. And we have our special guest in here giving some very, very good information as to what to do, how to try to overcome it, or even like control it. You know what I mean? So if you guys out there and loving this program and want to see more of them, hit us up, comment. And I want to actually, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. We talked a lot about self-control and like controlling oneself and how to cope with anxiety. But a lot of anxiety cases come from others, your kids, people who don't watch this show, who have no idea how to cope with anxiety. How do you alleviate those loved ones in your lives?
I have my method, but I don't think it's a kind
So we
method.
separate out as to- it's clear that she's the more logical, calm one, and it's not that I'm not logical, but I happen to also have a history of anxiety that I manage quite well. And it gets to be a tricky thing. So logic and reason, beautiful.
Okay.
So do you want to know what I do?
How do you put that on somebody else though?
Okay,
like,
so my ex-boyfriend suffered with anxiety and ADHD or
It's
whatever.
not an excuse for bad behavior.
Not an excuse. And so my perspective was, I don't give a shit what you're going through until you can talk to me like a normal, rational,
right.
calm human being. I'm not dealing with you. And I would literally walk away. Sometimes I got in the car and drove away because I'm not putting up with it.
Right.
You do not get to put your shit on me.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but you're, so
But what if it's your child?
Yes.
Like,
yes,
Okay.
yes.
that's what I want to get to.
So, so just to kind of tie this up, anxiety or disorders are not an excuse for bad behavior. I can't go inflict on you my suffering and whatever that is. It's common before people get treatment. But Lisa does not have a problem with anxiety. She manages her emotions. Someone who does have anxiety, communication is really important. Sorry about that. So the communication is important. So if we look at that 0 to 10 scale, we could use that for happiness, anger, anxiety, sadness, whatever it is. At higher levels, and we could teach our family, rate your anxiety. Here are some symptoms. And when it's really high, we have to wait for those to come down. Because if someone's high and having a panic attack or close to it, it might just mean you could hold my hand and we want to get them grounded. Like, where are you, right, as your anxiety comes down, you're here right now. We're not going into the future. Some people say anxiety gets worse when you go into the future.
Right.
You can't control. So we want to contain someone and have them feel connected to allow their anxiety. I'm big at offering my hand, even for people who come into my office, especially when I have just started working with them, if they want to hold my hand because they feel so disconnected and out there and they want to feel grounded. So we can ground them and then kind of get an idea of what's bothering them. So for people who are really struggling with anxiety and it's just not containable, the logic and reason won't help. And interestingly enough, anxiety disorders are, there's a correlation with highly intelligent and sensitive people. So it's not about intelligence, it's the emotions are hijacking our normal logical brain.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So-
they need to come down. The rapid heartbeat, it will kind of start to slow down.
And here's a fun fact. So if you hold somebody's hand, and I think, like you said, you hold your client's hands.
Sometimes.
But if you hold somebody's hand or hug them long enough, your heart rhythms actually sync.
I've heard that
So
before.
yeah.
Okay.
And so that's obviously, like for a little kid, just holding them.
Unless they get claustrophobic and they
I didn't say smother them. I didn't say smother them. Or just holding the hand.
How do you communicate to that child that they're feeling anxiety and what they're feeling is temporary?
That's a discussion to have when, again, they're
not
calm.
anxious.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if they're having a temper tantrum or they're always sick, you could ask them, are there things that you're scared of?
Yeah.
Can you identify? It is a scary time now. It's really important if parents identify this in their kids to really, there needs to be an outlet time.
Right.
People just need to get their spilkies out. I don't know.
Their feelings.
Yeah, their
feels,
their
yeah.
ants in their pants.
Okay. Got you. Yeah.
Okay,
I sound like a
so
grandmother. But then to have a conversation
Yeah.
with kids, especially COVID, where there are kids who are much more prone to anxiety, and they're afraid if they don't do their hand washing perfectly, maybe they can get their parents sick, and what's going to happen? There needs to be some education, but also a good routine is important. Actually, a healthy routine is important for everybody.
right.
And that is
Keep
the
our
hardest thing to
routines.
do right now.
Cool.
The most difficult thing.
Okay. Do you have any words for those out here self-medicating? People drinking and smoking in order to cope with their anxiety.
I think can we because I don't want to go too long.
Oh, my bad.
And I want you guys to have time to give information as to, you know, if someone has questions either later, you know, on your social media network or whatever, you know, if it's your Instagram or your Facebook, you know, give them that information to where they want to inbox you certain questions or whatever, you know, if you like. I mean, is that okay? I mean, I need.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
If someone emails me, I could give my email and then put their phone number on there. Sometimes it's easier for me just to call.
Talk. Okay. So yeah, could you give them your information real quick? And
Sure.
they can contact you at where?
So my email is Shanna Daron, mouthful, at msn.com. So SHA, N as in Nancy, A, D as in dog, O, R, O, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy, at msn.com.
Did y'all get that? I know y'all got that. She took her time. It was like, if y'all ain't get that, yeah, y'all need to rewind the tape. Okay.
And I'm not a doctor, so
Right, it may
I'm
take a
not
bit of time to
qualified
get
to give
back.
advice.
Smart.
Right.
Anywhere we can go for boxing lessons.
Yeah.
And that would be for everybody.
Now, Shannon, you was a therapist for what's that on A&E?
A show called Obsessed. So I worked with
Obsessed.
people with obsessive compulsive disorder.
Right. So, and they play like you can Google that, right, to watch that or whatever, just in case.
I think
So,
Yeah. If you guys want to get more familiar with her work or whatever, you guys can, you know, Google her on there and check it out, and then hit us up because we will have them back again.
Yeah, we have to.
I love them, so they'll be back. They'll be back.
is fun.
Kidnap them. No, I'm just kidding.
I remember I know how to box.
I know, right?
She knows how to box.
Oh,
Watch out.
yeah. Didn't I just tell you I know karate? No. But I mean, this has been a pleasure to talk about Something that we definitely need to talk more about in the future. And I got a whole lot more questions. That's why I had to stop now because I'm like,
same.
you know.
Same,
and so for you guys, if you guys have questions and stuff like that or whatever, inbox us or whatever that we can relay them to them. Then let us know. What you got?
I'm good, man. This was great. Thank you guys for coming through.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, Fired Up Family. You guys are great in the comments,
This was a
man.
lot of fun.
JD Productions over there doing his thing. I just want to shout out everybody.
Do we need the comment section? What's the name? What do we get?
Oh, yeah. Every week we do Holy Smoke, where I give my song of the week, and we give Fuel segment, which is Common Sense. He lived for it, and I live for mine.
So we'll be right back
you
with
can
it.
choose to stay by and like watch it, or you can go. It doesn't really.
They can't go nowhere. What are you talking
It,
about?
it wouldn't hurt. It doesn't hurt
I
too
gotta
bad.
see this.
Just doing the break.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt too bad. He talking to me. I was like, well, but yeah, you're right. We'll be back at what? Can I do it? We'll be back at 5, 4, 3, 2.
It didn't work.
Only you can do it.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Almost amazing.
We do. Y'all just don't know the end of it. Y'all don't know what happens at the end. Anyway, we're back. We appreciate you guys coming and tapping in with us with our guests. Love them. They had to go. We going about to. I got to get right into our next little deal. You know, he's the man with the plan, the one and only.
I'm blushing, man.
It's amazing with Holy Smoke.
Thank you, man.
What you got, man?
I was very long-winded and very grand, man.
Yeah.
Can you hit that music down a little bit? Thank you, man. I'm about to get into this bag over here, but yeah, hey, thank you for that wonderful intro. Thank you guys for coming through. Today's Holy Smoke goes to a throwback. Throwback of all sorts, man. We had the R&B episode today, and because of that, you know, in preparation,
Right.
it took a little time to kind of like jog my memory on some old school tracks. Run across one not even hidden, one beautiful gem that just had a little dust on it. Blew the dust off that thing.
A gem that have, is it fire?
Oh, you better believe it. Bet your bottom dollar, bucko.
Let's do it, baby. What
But
you got?
I'm feeling a little anxious right now, man. So can we take a 7-6-4 breath? Come on, you guys, as a family.
What you-
All right,
I don't know how to do it.
Come on.
No, you
Hey, do.
inhale for 6 seconds. And then you exhale for 4 seconds.
No, you hold it. No, you.
Oh
inhale for
God,
7
please
seconds.
no.
No, you inhale for 7 seconds. You hold it for 6 seconds,
Hey.
and then you let it out for 4 seconds.
Yeah. Well,
7, 6, 4.
I meditate. So
I'll call her and ask her. I'll call her and
I
find
do
out.
meditate, but like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
follow a
yeah,
plan.
but it's just you basically inhale at least 4 or 5 seconds longer than you exhale.
Okay.
And you
Okay.
keep.
So let's do this thing on 3. Come on, y'all.
Oh, we really
As
great
a
doing.
family. As a
Yeah,
family.
let's get it.
1, 2, 3.
Hold that thing. Hold that thing.
I don't really.
Well, hell, that was longer than.
Hold
the thing up.
the holding it is not a thing, really.
Well, I'm calm.
When you smoke weed.
When you smoke.
All right, but without further ado, now
Yeah, I know,
you
right?
guys
Can we
in
get
anxiety
into it?
no more. Today's Holy Smoke goes to a gym that we all know. This is Lost Ones by Lauryn Hill.
Oh, shit. What's up?
Now, turn me up.
Sabotage.
Sabotage back in its
not
natural
doing nothing.
habitat.
Look, I'm not
Here we
doing
go.
It's you over there, chicken plug.
Oh my God! Now back to this madness. Listen, go.
Every damn time. It's
Every
Common sense.
time.
Go common sense.
All right, no, here we go. Here we go.
It wasn't me, was
It wasn't you this time.
See? No.
Hey. It's L Boogie Fuel.
Funny how money
Oh, that's
changes
the shit.
situation. Miscommunication
Yeah.
lead to complication. My emancipation don't fit your equation.
Can't argue that one at all, baby.
Not
all.
But remember not to game new under the sun. Everything you did has already been done.
All I need is the chorus, man. We can get up out of here. But this chorus, this is one of them things. But this album was so great.
Oh, yeah.
So great.
Test me, run for me, can't take a threat to me newborn son. El been this way since
Like,
creation.
come on, man. Imagine, she's Rhapsody in this era. Like, well, nah, she's Drake in this era. Like, she's singing and rapping hits.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can't doubt that.
Maybe J. Cole.
But you just lost one. But you just lost. Yeah. There we go, baby. That's right there. Almost came with some fire. He came with some fire. He dug down and found out where that real fire was. Lauryn Hill, baby. That was pretty dope, man.
Thank you,
I
man.
like that. I like that.
I tried.
Yeah. This is getting to be a good week.
All right. But without further ado, you guys, weighing at a whopping 195.
95.
Weighing at a whop. All right, let me sit down. He said it was too much junk. All right, but yeah, without further ado, I give you the main man. It has been election week. You know he's got some wisdom for you guys today. He is the owl in the towel under the bridge next to the fridge. You heard it here first, folks. Without further ado, the gas man himself, Mr. Fuel.
Yeah, woo! Come on. Well, man, it's down to that common sense. That's when I actually just kind of let you know, and it's no in-betweens. It's either is or it ain't. And this week is common sense, of course. It has to be about the election and what's going on. You see it. I see it. Everybody sees it. The point is this. What you like?
I saw JD's camera technique just now.
Was it doing the shaking thing or whatever?
Back and forth.
Yeah, that's his signature move now.
But yeah, please.
So anyway, what I got for common sense really, man, is about the whole election, and it's about the whole thing about Trump. I have to say it. I have to say it. It has to be said. The whole thing about Trump with the arrogance, the disrespect that he has for this country, as opposed even for his own people, it's been mind-boggling. And it's common sense to see that our country is really still divided in a way that we probably never would have known because of Trump, without the whole situation with him, but you guys see that it is, the whole election and everything, the way that's been going and the way that we have to wait and the complaints about the votes, how many coming in and wanting to stop the vote at the mid day of the election. Come on. You guys know that someone is trying to control this, and it really ain't us with all these votes with our votes. It really ain't. You know, we do our job, we do what we're supposed to do, but we got other people up there that's manipulating everything that we do. Just so y'all recognize that, man. Just understand that's the common sense of the day. That's all I got. I could get deeper, but I don't want to get too political with it.
Okay. This light over here, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, JD gassed me earlier, said the light actually looked kind of nice. So hey, I see it over there. But yeah, that very respectful in your point today. I feel like the work now is done. Whatever happens. The work is done. You've warned them. You came on here time and time again and expressed your feelings for what direction we need to go with this election.
Right.
The ballots have been casted, and it's only on time to tell who our next president is going to be.
Right.
So,
and you know the thing is, it's a matter of is it more of them than it is of us.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Is it more of them that are because in anybody in their right mind can tell. He took the light off. Anybody in their right mind though can tell if you're right and if you're wrong.
Yeah. And
if you just choose for the wrong or whatever, that says a lot about you and your character, your family, your character, though, how you raise your kids, how you see our country.
That's divisive.
I mean, go ahead with it.
I don't know because I don't want to stand up for the Trumps or the Bidens. I don't have any political affiliation. But to say that somebody's kids are worse because their political affiliation is kind of crazy.
Not just saying their kids are worse, but you're teaching them the wrong way. You're teaching them wrong things.
I don't know
if you're
childhood.
Yeah, I mean, it has to do with it trickles down from ancestor to ancestor. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It trickles down. It trickles down from that or whatever. It's kind of like the next generation that comes up and see how this is, and see how it can be manipulated. Another generation is going to do it.
Well, how much time you got? We can.
No, we do it. I mean, we supposed to be done.
Yeah,
we supposed to be done.
right.
But hey, but that was my common sense. Appreciate you guys tapping in. We love y'all. Check us out again next Thursday. We're gonna have them back again. What the heck is going on? We're gonna have our guests back in. We got another special guest coming next week, though. I'll let y'all know. I'll tap you out in and give y'all information on that pretty soon or whatever. But we appreciate it. Thanks for joining Fired Up Thursday. We glad our sound sounded good. We did good today, buddy.
Come on, fellas.
Woo! We appreciate y'all. See y'all next week on Fired Up. Peace.